Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thought I would say a few words on this debate, sir. People have delivered a verdict, and in a democracy, the people's verdict must be respected. The speaker, the person who moved the motion, honourable member who moved the motion, and the honourable member who seconded the motion, have referred to various matters. I think, sir, I will primarily do a brief analysis of the results of the local authority elections held on 10th of February. And the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumana polled 44.69% of the vote cast at the election. The United National Party polled 32.61%. The United People's Freedom Alliance polled 8.90%. The Sri Lanka Freedom Party polled 4.48%. If one was to add the percentage of the votes polled by the United National Party, the UPFA, and the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, those three parties put together polled 45.99%, 46% more almost. The Sri Lanka Podujana Perumana polled 44.69%, that is 2% less than the other three parties put together. The People's Liberation Front, the JBP, polled 4.32%, and the Ilangai Tamilatsi Katchi polled 4.07%. If one was to add the percentage of the votes polled by those two parties together with the percentage of votes polled by the United National Party, the UPFA, the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, the total would be 55.31%. So in other words, parties opposed to the Podujana Perumana have polled 55.31%, and the Podujana Perumana has polled only 44.69%. This is indisputable. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, at the presidential election held in 2015, polled 47.58%. The vote he polled that in the presidential election in 2015, January, was more than the vote he polled now. There have been three elections in recent times: the presidential election in 2015, the parliamentary election in 2015, and the local authority elections held this month. In none of these elections has President Rajapaksa been able to obtain more than 50%. His vote has always been below 50% at the presidential election, and the parliamentary election, and the local authority election. So there's nothing to get excited about. Elections are held, parties win, parties lose. Local authority elections have been held, and you have won. One doesn't dispute that fact. But the fact of the matter is that you have polled only 44%, 44.69%, as opposed to 55.31% cast against you. So what is there to get excited about? Nothing at all. Parliament is not constituted on the basis of votes cast at a local authority election. Parliament is constituted, a president is elected on the basis of votes cast at a presidential election, at a parliament election held for that purpose. in keeping with the Constitution and the laws of this country. The Constitution, the laws of this country cannot be subverted by your claiming benefits under a local authority election to your advantage in the way you please. I want to make a few comments, Mr. Speaker, if you will permit me, in regard to the nature of the propaganda that was carried on at this election. I don't want to say anything controversial, but I must refer to the fact that I was quite alarmed when quite early in the campaign, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, in the course of an election rally, said that sometimes the election could result in Tamil Elam blooming after the election is over. So we have been, and the reason he said for that was there was the new constitution being framed, which might result in that happening. So ever since the 13th Amendment was enacted in 1987-88, there have been continuous efforts on the parts of various presidents and various governments to improve the 13th Amendment in such a manner as to bring about a political resolution acceptable to all the citizens in this country. During President Premadasa's time, there were the Mangala Munasiga Select Committee proposals, which made recommendations that went far beyond the 13th Amendment. During President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratuga's time, there were the 2000 constitutional proposals brought to Parliament by no less a person than Professor G.L. Pires, which went far beyond the 13th Amendment and contained various new features in that proposed constitution that was brought in the bill to Parliament. Then after President Mahinda Rajapaksa assumed office, if we will recall his speech that he made at the initial meeting, the inaugural meeting of the APRC and the Experts Committee, he talked of maximum possible devolution. He appointed the Experts Committee that came up with the reports. There was the Professor Thitsavitana Committee, which came up with their own report, which took the constitutional proposals much beyond the 13th Amendment. And that was the position. We have, after the assumption of office of this Parliament was evolved into a constitutional assembly as per a resolution adopted unanimously in this Parliament, with all the joint opposition members being supportive of that resolution. None of you opposed it. There was a steering committee appointed. You participated in the proceedings of the steering committee. None of you opposed it. None of you talked of Elam in this Parliament. None of you talked of Elam at the steering committee. You accepted it. You went along with the process. Suddenly, Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa says Elam is likely to bloom after the local authority elections if the people are not careful. I have information, sir, that this message was propagated amongst innocent single people in this country. They were told, this is a referendum for Elam. If you vote for the government, if you vote for the UNP, it will result in Elam being created. So don't vote for them. Vote for the lotus bud.
Hello?
I am told that particularly this propaganda was very virulently carried out in all the temples, in all the villages in the Sinhala South. This, I think, is unfortunate, sir. I want to put on record that my party at the direction in our manifesto talked of a political solution within the framework of an undivided, indivisible, single country. There was no campaign carried on Anywhere in the north and the east, we talked of division of the country. We only talked of a solution that is acceptable to our people, that is reasonable, substantial power sharing within the framework of a united, undivided, indivisible, single country. That was the propaganda we carried out in all our areas. And when we did that, how dare President Rajapaksa say that Ilam could bloom after the election? This is not very deception of the people in the south, innocent single people in the south, but it's a deception of everyone, including himself. I would like to say, sir, that I would like to put this on record, because I want everybody in this country to know that it was malicious, vicious, fallacious, false propaganda on the part of President Mahinda Rajapaksa and the Podujana Party. And if you persist in this agenda, I want to tell you, Ireland will bloom, not on account of us, on account of your lotus bud. Your lotus bud will bloom into an Ireland. That's what will happen. Therefore, please resist your temptation to achieve cheap political gain by carrying on such false propaganda. Thank you, sir.